Welcome sa ating channel mga kaibigan, and we have here the best budget airflow chassis sa mainstream brand. So, it's quite not a budget chassis pagdating sa Philippine market dahil nasa around 5,400 siya. Pero if you are trying to compare this with other brands out there na mayroong pangalan or we may call it mainstream, this is so affordable dahil meron na rin siyang dalawang 200mm fans. And let's cut it there dahil sobrang excited ko. Nasimulan ko na kagad. And yes, we'll talk more about those details. And for more videos like this, feel free to subscribe. This video is brought to you by SCDKey, the best website that you may visit in terms of very affordable deals and best offer para sa application softwares, games, and yes, operating system. And there you are, you may check the Windows 10 Pro, and by using our promo code, ma-avail mo lang siya ng around $14.95 or 700 plus pesos. That's it mga kaibigan. Check the description below. May mga links po tayo dyan to go directly sa kanilang website. Okay, so we have here the Lian Li 215 Unobstructed chassis. Ibig sabihin, full airflow siya, and at the same time, that name na unobstructed, ibig sabihin parang walang resistance for a very good airflow. And yun yung aalamin natin bakit yun yung naging tagline ng chassis na to. Dahil nakalagay din doon, it is the best budget airflow chassis. Well, for the international market, it is really the best budget airflow chassis based on looks. And let's dig deeper kung totoo nga ba talaga. At the front of the chassis, makikita nyo, meron siyang full mesh front panel. There is something quite the same sa mga cases like CMH500. Makikita nyo to dati sa mga chassis nila. Since meron din siyang dalawang 200mm fans. And that's quite identical din. Kumbaga parang adapted siya from those chassis. Pero what makes the difference in here is medyo mas wide yung area for the mesh grills. Mas wide siya, and wala siyang dust filter sa kanyang front. And I think that is the reason why they call this unobstructed airflow chassis. Going further sa top, nandito naman po yung kanyang power button, reset button, USB ports, and audio jack. Sa kanyang side panel, meron siyang 4mm tempered glass, and sa kabilang side is just steel. And going inside, makikita nyo na sobrang komportableng naka-install lahat ng pyesa. We have here the Noctua NHD15 Chroma. Meron din ditong RTX 3070, the Z590 Taichi, and 11900K processor. And provided na ito is top-of-the-line processor, we will expect na medyo maipupush yung limits ng ating budget airflow chassis pagdating sa overclocking. Malalaman natin yan mga kaibigan later. Let's move on first sa ating mga clearance. Sa kanyang front, you can install 360mm radiator na pwede pa rin naka-install yung dalawang 200mm fans. So, ibig sabihin, pwede kang mag-push-pull configuration, 200mm fan sa harap, and then naka-sandwich yung radiator, and then tatlong 120mm fans. 280mm fans is also compatible, and then sa kanyang top naman, the clearance is also compatible for 240mm, 280mm radiator, or 140mm na dalawa, or 120mm na dalawang fans din. Sa kanyang rear, you can only install 120mm fans. So, pre-installed na po yung dalawang 200mm fans sa harap, and at the same time yung 120mm fan dito sa rear. Sa harap nga lang is ARGB, and same with the logo, ARGB. And then, another thing is sa kanyang top ng kanyang PSU shroud, which is I really don't understand, is pwede ka rin maglagay ng fans, pero hindi ko po siya may recommend, and it's one of the features na masyado nilang hinighlight, pero hindi ko talaga ma-appreciate yun na maglagay ka ng fans. If there is something na may tutulong niya, cycle, pero it's very minimal because of the fact din na hindi talaga siya maganda tingnan. Pag meron kang makikitang fans sa gitna, tapos nag-iisa lang siya. Ang weird tingnan nun. And then, moving on sa kanyang kabilang side, you may also find here the very good cable management system. Ang ganda ng kanyang clearance. Meron na rin ditong hub for fans, and ARGB that is commonly found sa mga recent chassis lately. Pero given na naidagdag pa rin nila ito, na mainstream brand siya, and they still managed to add that hub for the fans, Napakalaking tulong yan kasi most of the boards, yan po yung isa sa mga pinakamalaking struggle namin recently. Pag maraming fans, like you will fill up this system unit with 7 fans or you will do push-pull configuration at naubusan ka na ng slot ng fan headers sa motherboard. Napakalaking struggle kasi bibili ka pa ng fan hub and not almost all of the retail stores have the fan hub always on hand. So, it's good move given the price. Nagawa nilang i-manage na idagdag. And then for the storage, there are 2 mounting system for the SSD. And then as usual, the HDD mounting is nandun po sa ating ilalim ng PSU shroud. So that's with the power supply that supports up to 210mm clearance po yung kanyang PSU cage. And then lastly is meron siyang dust filter sa top and then dust filter din sa bottom with rubber feet. And then before I will miss it, makikita nyo po dyan yung magandang clearance support niya rin pagdating sa air cooler or CPU air coolers. We managed to install Noctua NHD15. And with that being said, pagdating sa kanyang designs and airflow and the claim that they are the best budget airflow chassis, we do the overclocking of 11900K with ASRock Z590. And we managed to do it up to 5.3 GHz and then 4.8 for other cores. So the thing na ginawa namin is per core, 5.3, 5.3, then 5.2, 5.2. Then yung pinaka-last 4 cores is 4.8 GHz, 1.375 volts. Doon nagawa namin at the very worst case scenario na pwedeng mangyari. It is summertime, closed room, we have 34 degrees Celsius, climate-controlled temperature, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. temperature, no aircon, meron lang pong electric fan for the circulation para hindi naman kami malusaw doon sa loob ng room. And there we found out na kayang-kaya ng Noctua NHD15 na i-manage yung 5.3 GHz na frequency. Pero per core, not all cores. We tried it with all cores, pero nagre-restart na po siya. We fall down to 5.0 GHz all cores, and we managed it also na matapos yung benchmark ng Cinebench software pagdating sa stability test. 5.0 GHz all cores, 5.3 GHz for the first 2 cores, and yung auto niya is nasa around running 4.8 GHz. Always update the BIOS. May it be for overclocking purposes or not, you will have the best experience or performance out of your processor kung updated yung BIOS dahil nandun po yung mga recent na settings, configurations, and tweaks na ginagawa nila sa mga motherboard para mas ma-maximize yung performance and power of our processor or other components like RAM, pagdating sa stability din, and then compatibility concerns is masosolve. So kadalasan yan naman yung mga nasosolve ng ating BIOS update. But before I will state my final words about this chassis, look at the benchmark of Lian Li 215 compared sa mga iba't ibang chassis. Some of them are airflow chassis and some of them are not. And makikita nyo po dyan that Lian Li 215 is way ahead pagdating sa temperature benchmark. That thing alone is a very big proof na ito nga ang isa, if not the best budget airflow chassis pagdating sa price. Medyo hindi siya competitive. Pero if the statement is if you are looking at the best budget airflow chassis from 5K plus and below, then Lian Li is arguably the best out there in the market. I will definitely recommend it kung ang budget mo is nasa around 4,000 to 6,000. Bakit? Kung nasa ganyan yung price mo, konti na lang dadagdag mo, you may have now the best budget airflow chassis. The only downside in here is dahil unobstructed siya, medyo tagilid lang siya dahil wala siyang dust filter. So you may just avail a decent dust filter. Pero given na medyo hindi naman ganun kalalaki yung butas ng kanyang mesh, well, it's good enough dust filter na rin po siya. Pero ito kasi yun eh. The concept of this chassis is really to eradicate yung dust filter. Because it's like they are telling us na if you want the best out of the box performance, remove the dust filter. Kasi alam na rin naman natin yan, na ang dust filter is good to maintain na maging malinis sa loob ng PC natin to avoid dust, to avoid particles of unwanted elements. Pero still, it's a resistance pagdating sa airflow and there will still be an effect pagdating sa performance. So ayun lang po ang ating mabilisang video for the Lian Li 215 Unobstructed chassis. For more videos like this, feel free to subscribe.